all airlines, it's simply a game of seniority. Your seniority is a number that you carry. It's given to you the day you are hired, and it changes as people retire above you. But the guy above you will be above you, one number above you for the rest of your career. The guy below you will be one number below you till somebody retires. So when your seniority allows, if you choose, and some people choose not to do it, but most people want to fly bigger airplanes, go further, and do, make more money. And so that's how it's done. It's a game of seniority. For me, I stayed back a little longer than most because I really enjoyed seniority. So, in other words, if I'm on, let's say, a 757, 767, and I've become more and more senior. Now I have the opportunity to go on a 777, but be very junior. I may choose to just stay where I am because I want the better schedules. I don't want to fly up, all-nighters. I don't want to, commute or, a series of other things. So I may choose to be a senior guy and stay on the older airplane. Or I might be ambitious and want to go out there and rip roar through the whole thing. In that case, I'll just go on the first opportunity I get. I'll go on the next airplane, the next size, next seat, whatever it is. And then once you get to that point, once you're, so let's say you are in a 757 and you choose to go to a 777, your seniority allows it. They put in, computer bids once, every 2 or 3 months, and you get that bid. Now training is assigned to you. And airline pilots in the United States, anyhow, you can only fly one type of aircraft at a given time. Usually you can fly multiple types, but right now it's just one type. In other words, I'm a 757 captain until the day I go into school. Then I am no longer a 757 captain. I'm a 777 captain who is not, who's not qualified yet, who has to go through the entire training process. And then once you go through the training process, and then that's your seat, and that's where you're going to be until you make another change. And then there's the training, of course. The training for American Airlines. I'm sure most airlines are not that dissimilar. It's around 30, 35 days. You go in, you spend 2 weeks in what they call ground school, where you sit down in class and you study systems, and then they have cockpit procedure trainers. CPTs, they call them. So you sit there, and then it's a layout of the cockpit with actual instruments, and you turn on a light switch, the appropriate lights come on, and then things happen. But it's just really just a piece of machine sitting in a classroom and has no other function. So when that's done, that portion of it is done. You go through your what they call the oral, and that's a test. It's a Federal Aviation Administration required test. You have to pass that, and as soon as that's done, now you're ready for phase 2. Phase 2 is always simulator training. Now, simulators, we use 3-axis, simulators that American has, and then almost all airlines do. And that's where the feel, everything that you do, you walk into it still, nailed to the ground, but it's a big room, big box that is sitting on a series of, hydraulic lifts that are designed to take you in, make you feel exactly as you would, in the cockpit. And they're designed to create an environment that is very, very similar to the cockpit. And so you walk in, even though you're on the ground, you're sitting on the 3rd floor of some building somewhere, you walk in, you're exactly in the cockpit of that airplane. In fact, the training is so similar to the airplanes that the very first time that you fly an airplane with passengers on, that you touch the controls of an airplane is when you're with passengers. You don't ever take an airplane out and fly it around and feel it. The training is so precise that when I get there and for the first time I touch the real controls, passengers are right behind me loading up, boarding. This better be good. And so you go through 2 weeks of that, and then that's followed by a check ride. And when that portion is done, then there's a series of flights that you have to do depending on the seat and and where you're going to fly. And there you do that, American Airlines with check airmen, people that are qualified, other captains that are qualified that sit in the other seat. and they watch you and make sure that you go through that process. And then once that's done, then they'll give you the keys essentially, and you can go out and fly the airplane around. But even after that, there are some restrictions depending on the number of hours you have. So it's a steps-up process. You got to go through A to get to B, and B before you get to C. And by the time you get to the end of it, you're well qualified to be taking this airplane on and be responsible for it yourself. Mm-hmm. Probably a longer answer than you were expecting, but here we are.